You have tried everything. You have counted calories, skipped desserts, sweated through intense workouts, and pushed yourself in ways you never thought you would. The scale moved. Your arms got leaner. Your face thinned out. But that belly, that stubborn layer sitting deep inside your midsection, barely changed at all, as if it has a mind of its own. And in a way, it does. Most of us believe that burning belly fat requires harder workouts, heavier weights, longer runs, more effort, more pain, more sweat. But what if science has discovered something that completely challenges that belief? What if the signal that reaches the deepest fat inside your body is not loud and aggressive, but quiet, rhythmic, and surprisingly gentle? In this video, I'm going to show you a biological mechanism that most people have never heard of. A mechanism where soft, rhythmic movements performed on an empty stomach can send a direct signal to your visceral fat, the most dangerous type of fat in your body, and tell it to start breaking down. This is not a fitness trend. This is not a hack. This is biology that has been hiding in plain sight. Before we go further, a quick note. This is educational content, not medical advice. If you have any health conditions, please consult your doctor before trying anything you hear in this video. Now, to understand why this matters so much, you need to know what visceral fat actually is. Unlike the fat you can pinch under your skin, visceral fat hides deep inside your abdomen, wrapping around your liver, kidneys, intestines, and other vital organs. You cannot see it in the mirror. You cannot measure it with a tape measure alone. But it is there, and it behaves very differently from the fat on your arms or thighs. Visceral fat is not just stored energy. It acts almost like a gland actively releasing inflammatory chemicals into your bloodstream. Research has linked high levels of visceral fat to increased risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. It is the most metabolically active and the most dangerous type of fat in the human body. And frustratingly, it is also the most resistant to traditional weight loss methods. Now, if you have been following this channel, you already know that when you fast long enough, insulin drops and your body shifts into a state where fat can be released from storage. Think of it like a locked warehouse. When insulin is high, the doors stay shut. When insulin drops, the doors finally open. But here is the question that almost nobody asks. The doors are open. Good. But what actually forces visceral fat, the most stubborn type of fat stored deep around your organs, to walk out? Fasting alone opens the door, but something else needs to push the fat through it. And that something surprisingly comes from a source most people would never expect. Let me introduce you to a concept called mechanotransduction. The name sounds complicated, but the idea is beautifully simple. It means that your cells can feel physical force and translate it into chemical signals. For decades, scientists assumed fat cells were passive, just storage containers sitting there waiting to be emptied by exercise and diet. But research has revealed something remarkable. Fat cells are active. They can sense when physical force is applied to the tissue around them. When your body bounces, jumps, or vibrates, those mechanical waves travel through your bones, your muscles, and your connective tissue. And when they reach your fat cells, something happens. The cells respond. Here is where it gets fascinating. When fat cells detect these rhythmic vibrations, they change their behavior in two important ways. First, the surface of the fat cell senses the pressure and activates internal chemical reactions that favor fat release over fat storage. Second, and this is the part that surprised researchers, the mechanical signal affects stem cells, those undecided cells that have not yet become fat cells, muscle cells, or bone cells. Under rhythmic vibration, stem cells are steered away from becoming new fat cells. In other words, gentle rhythmic movement does not just help burn existing fat, it may actually help prevent new fat from forming. And this is not just theory. In 2010, a research team led by Dirk Wissers at Antwerp University Hospital in Belgium conducted a clinical trial on 79 overweight and obese adults. They divided participants into 4 groups and followed them for 12 months. One group received no treatment. One group only followed a calorie-restricted diet. One group followed the same diet plus traditional aerobic exercise. And the last group followed the same diet plus whole body vibration training. The results were striking. After 6 months, the vibration group lost 47.8 square centimeters of visceral fat. The aerobic exercise group only 17.6 square centimeters. The diet-only group lost 24.3 square centimeters. That means the vibration group lost nearly 3 times more visceral fat than the group doing traditional cardio. 3 times. From vibration, not from running or cycling harder. But the most dramatic finding came later. After 12 months, which included 6 months of no intervention at all, researchers checked again. The aerobic exercise group had regained almost all their visceral fat, dropping to just negative 1.6 square centimeters from baseline. The diet group also lost most of their progress, but the vibration group, they maintained nearly all of their visceral fat loss, still showing negative 47.7 square centimeters from baseline. The only group that kept the fat off long-term was the one using mechanical vibration. Let that sink in for a moment. Gentle vibration outperformed traditional aerobic exercise for visceral fat, not by a small margin, but by nearly threefold. And it was the only method that produced lasting results. Every other approach saw the fat creep back once the intervention stopped. The vibration group held steady. Something about the mechanical signal created a more durable change in how the body handled its deepest fat stores. Now here is the connection to jumping. Whole body vibration machines create the same type of mechanical signal that your body produces when you bounce or jump lightly. The frequencies overlap. The tissue response is similar. You do not need an expensive machine. Your own body gently bouncing can generate these signals naturally. But mechanotransduction is only part of the story. There is a second pathway that activates when you move, and it involves a messenger that your muscles send directly to your fat. In 2012, a team led by Bruce Spiegelman at Harvard University discovered something extraordinary. When your muscles contract, they release a hormone called irisin. Spiegelman named it after Iris, the Greek goddess, who served as a messenger between the gods on Mount Olympus. And the name fits perfectly because irisin is a messenger. It travels from your muscles through your bloodstream and delivers a command directly to your white fat cells. That command: transform. When irisin reaches white fat, it tells those cells to become something different. It activates a process called fat browning, where white fat cells, the kind that only store energy, begin transforming into beige fat cells. And beige fat cells are fundamentally different. They contain more mitochondria, the tiny power generators inside every cell, and they have the ability to burn energy as heat instead of storing it. Think of it this way. White fat is a warehouse. It takes energy in and locks it away. Beige fat is a furnace. It takes energy and burns it to generate warmth. Irisin is the signal that converts warehouses into furnaces. And here is what makes this so remarkable. The transformation is not temporary. Once a white fat cell receives enough irisin, signaling it begins expressing genes that make it behave like brown fat permanently. It literally changes its identity at the genetic level. The key protein involved is called UCP1 uncoupling protein 1. Normally, mitochondria produce ATP, the energy currency your body uses for everything from thinking to moving. But when UCP1 is activated in beige fat, it short circuits that process. Instead of making ATP, the mitochondria release energy directly as heat. The fat cell literally burns its own contents to warm your body from the inside. Now, does this actually happen in humans during exercise? A 2017 meta-analysis led by Fox published in the Scandinavian Journal of Medicine and Science in Sports analyzed 10 studies measuring blood irisin levels in adults immediately after exercise. The results confirmed it. A single bout of exercise increased circulating irisin by an average of 15%. But here is the detail that matters most for this video. The type of exercise did not significantly affect irisin release. Aerobic exercise resistance training, high intensity, low intensity, they all triggered irisin. You do not need to destroy yourself in the gym to activate this pathway. Even gentle rhythmic movement is enough to get your muscles talking to your fat. And there was one more finding that creates a beautiful feedback loop. The strongest predictor of irisin response was not exercise intensity. It was fitness level. People who exercised regularly had nearly double the irisin response compared to sedentary individuals, 21% versus 11.8%. In other words, the more consistently you move, the better your muscles get at sending the fat-burning signal. Your muscles literally learn to communicate more effectively over time. It is as if your body rewards consistency over intensity. Not how hard you push in a single session, but how faithfully you show up day after day. This brings us to an evolutionary story that ties everything together. In 2014, researchers published a study in Cell Metabolism that revealed something fascinating about shivering. When humans shiver from cold, their muscles contract rhythmically, and this rhythmic contraction triggers irisin release, the exact same hormone released during exercise. The researchers proposed that the exercise irisin pathway may have evolved from the shivering response. Think about what this means. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors shivered in the cold. That shivering triggered irisin. Irisin told their fat to start burning as heat to warm them from the inside. It was a survival mechanism. The body was converting stored energy into warmth to keep them alive. Today, when you jump gently and rhythmically, your muscles contract in a pattern that is remarkably similar to shivering. Your body does not distinguish between shivering from cold and bouncing lightly on your feet. All it recognizes is rhythmic muscular contraction, and it responds the same way by releasing irisin and telling fat to start generating heat. You are activating an ancient survival pathway with a modern movement. Your body does not care that you are in a living room wearing sneakers instead of standing barefoot in a frozen landscape. The biology is identical. Rhythmic contraction irisin, release fat burning for warmth. The same code that kept your ancestors alive is still running inside you, waiting to be activated. And here is what makes the combination with fasting so powerful. When your body is already in a fasted state, insulin is low, and your cells are primed for fat release. Adding gentle rhythmic movement at this precise moment creates a triple activation that none of the individual components can achieve alone. There are not one, not two, but three distinct pathways working together when you combine fasting with gentle jumping. The first pathway is metabolic. When you fast, insulin drops, creating the hormonal environment for fat to be released. Visceral fat is particularly sensitive to this signal. This is the open door. The second pathway is mechanical. When you jump lightly, rhythmic vibrations travel through your tissues and reach your fat cells. Through mechanotransduction, these cells receive a physical signal to reduce fat storage and steer stem cells away from becoming new fat cells. This is the push. The third pathway is hormonal. Your contracting muscles release irisin into your bloodstream. Irisin travels to white fat and commands it to transform into beige fat, which burns energy as heat through UCP1 activation. This is the transformation. Each pathway is effective on its own, but together they create something greater. A 2024 meta-analysis by Khalafi and colleagues, published in the Nutrition Journal, examined studies comparing intermittent fasting combined with exercise versus fasting alone, or exercise alone in overweight and obese adults. The results showed that the combination reduced body weight by 3.03 kilograms, more reduced body fat significantly, with a standardized mean difference of negative 0.72, and decreased waist circumference by 1.81 centimeters more than fasting alone. The combination also improved blood glucose insulin sensitivity and cholesterol levels beyond what either intervention achieved individually. What this means in practical terms is simple. Fasting on its own works. Exercise on its own works. But when you combine them, the effect is not just added together, it is amplified. The metabolic environment created by fasting makes the body more responsive to the physical signals from exercise, and the physical signals from exercise help the body use the metabolic window that fasting creates more efficiently. They feed each other. The science is clear. Fasting opens the door. Movement pushes through it. And when the movement is gentle and rhythmic, you activate pathways that heavy, exhausting exercise does not reach more effectively. But a word of caution, combining does not mean going to extremes. If you feel dizzy and it does not pass after a few minutes, if your heart starts racing, if you feel nauseous or experience joint pain, stop immediately. That is your body telling you it has had enough. Listen to it. And if you are pregnant breastfeeding, have a history of eating disorders, use insulin for diabetes, have kidney disease, or are underweight, please talk to your doctor before attempting any fasting protocol. Now, here are 5 simple exercises you can do at home. No equipment needed, no trainer required. Anyone can do these. First, the gentle bounce. Stand with your feet shoulder width apart. Gently bounce up and down, letting your heels barely lift off the ground just a few centimeters. Keep the rhythm steady and comfortable. This is the simplest movement, and it works for all ages. Second, rhythmic calf raises. Stand straight, rise up on your toes, then lower your heels back to the ground with a gentle impact. Each time your heels touch down, a soft vibration travels through your bones and tissues. Hold a wall or chair for balance if needed. Third step, hops. Step one foot slightly forward, then lightly lift both feet off the ground about 2 to 3 centimeters before landing softly. Alternate feet. Keep the pace slow and rhythmic, like you are bouncing to a slow song. Fourth, squat pulses. Lower into a shallow squat, knees slightly bent, and pulse gently up and down within a small range. You will feel your thighs and glutes working lightly while generating that rhythmic mechanical signal. Fifth, slow stationary jumps. Jump lightly in place with both feet. Minimal height, slow tempo. Focus on the rhythm and consistency, not on how high or fast you can go. Start with 5 to 10 minutes per day. Do these while you are in your fasting window, ideally after 12 to 16 hours without food. Breathe naturally throughout. Do not hold your breath. The rhythm of your breathing should match the rhythm of your movement, steady and calm. Drink enough water. Add a pinch of salt, some magnesium and potassium if you are fasting longer. And remember, these are suggestions, not a strict protocol. Every body is different. If something feels wrong, stop. Start where you are, not where you think you should be. So what does all of this mean for you? It means that the approach to losing deep belly fat may be fundamentally different from what most of us have been taught. We were told to push harder, train longer, suffer more. But the science tells a different story. It tells us that your fat cells can feel rhythm, that your muscles can send chemical messages to your fat, that an ancient survival mechanism designed to keep your ancestors warm in the cold can be awakened by something as simple as a gentle bounce on an empty stomach. You do not need to punish your body to change it. The goal is to cooperate with it, to understand its language, and to send the right signals at the right time. For thousands of years, your body has carried these pathways inside it, encoded in your cells, waiting quietly. All it needed was the right combination of silence and movement to wake them up. That is what this video was really about. Not a workout routine, not a fasting protocol, but a deeper understanding of how your body communicates with itself and how you can join that conversation. Some experts say you should never exercise while fasting. Others say it is the most effective way to burn fat. After seeing the research, where do you stand? Let me know in the comments. What surprised you most in this video? The fact that vibration outperformed aerobic exercise by nearly 3 times for visceral fat. That your muscles literally send hormones to your fat cells. Or that gentle jumping activates a pathway that evolved from shivering. Write it in one word below. I read every comment. And if you know someone who has been struggling with stubborn belly fat, no matter how hard they try, send them this video. Sometimes the answer is not trying harder. It is trying differently. Subscribe if you want to understand the hidden mechanisms inside your body that most people never learn about. There is so much more to discover. Not every fight needs force. Sometimes the gentlest rhythm at the right moment moves what years of pushing never could. Take that first small jump. Your body has been waiting for the signal.